Hello, hello, hello everyone. This is Kim from K&RP, and with this video tutorial, I will be doing an advent calendar for the Friendly Junk Journal people, 12 days of junk journal gift idea tutorials. This is a precursor to the 12 days, and it is titled I'll Be Home for Christmas. So it's based on altered paper clips. So what I did was I punched 2-inch circles out of a Tetley tea box. I took a 2-inch paper clip, making sure the large side of the paper clip is to the outside. Added some liquid glue, just an Elmer's white glue, making sure you get around the paper clip quite thickly. Thickly, is that a word? And then I topped it with a piece of glossy magazine paper from a National Geographic magazine. I used the text because in Manitoba, we can't recycle glossy magazines or wrapping paper or anything like that. It all ends up in the landfill, or, you know, there's only so many that the preschools and schools take for art projects. So I like to use the text parts when I'm doing the paperclip bases because it uses up some of the stuff, otherwise ends in the landfill. So put it on top, squeeze it together tightly, and then put it aside to dry. The next step, while these are drying, is I cut out 25 6-inch squares of just lined loose leaf paper. I cut some on an angle, some straight. It doesn't matter. You can use any kind of paper you like, but I thought using the lined paper would be great, especially if you are on a tight budget. And this way you could do something like write a letter to your child about what makes you proud of them. Or, you know, you could write on the lines, let's make cookies, something like that. So these are going to be the envelopes that we are going to be attaching to the altered paper clips. And as I said, I used a 6-inch square of paper. So you're going to take your paper and you're going to fold it in half diagonally to make a triangle. And as you can see, when I cut it, it's not going to lie straight on the lines, but that's okay. So you fold it in half. Then you take the bottom corner and you fold it up to the line, and you fold it up like this. Now from this edge to this edge, you would take 2 3/4 inches from each edge. I'm using a quilting square, and I'm just going to mark 2 3/4 inches on the bottom line from each corner. Just with a little dot, and the same thing on the other side. Then you're going to fold on that dot to the center of the page. This is the little dot. Just put your finger there, bend it over, and fold. Then you're going to tuck this end inside that. This way, when they take the paper, they can unfold it and read the letter. No need for any glue. And you're just going to fold the top flap down, and you're going to do that with all 25 pieces of paper and just set them aside. I will do that again to show you. You take the paper, you fold it into the triangle, diagonal, corner to corner. You would mark the 2 3/4 inches with a dot. And on this side, 2 3/4 inches with a dot. Put your finger and fold along the bottom. This one, fold along the bottom. Tuck one into the other. It is easier than I am making it appear. I've got so much glue on my fingers I can't feel what I'm doing here. Okay, there we go. And fold the top flap down. Oh, I see the problem. I had 2 papers here. That would do it. Okay, let's unfold that. That's because I forgot the step, right? Okay, we'll do this again. We'll put that aside. Sorry, folks. Take another piece of paper. Fold it to the corners. Open it. Fold the center point up to the middle. And then up. And then do the 2 3/4 inches. 1, 2 3/4. 1, 2 3/4. That's better. Much better. Fold it in. And it gives you quite a bit of room that you could put little chocolate, jokes, whatever you put in your advent calendars. And as I say, you continue on with all 25 pieces of paper. So once the glue is dried on these, what I do is I take a black marker and I just scribble down the text. Because it's a National Geographic, sometimes you get some of those words that people really don't need to see or want to see, or it's not appetizing, or it could be rude to them. This just helps block out some of that, the chances of that happening. And of course I have done the rest of them so that the video doesn't take too long. So this is what you end up with, a scribbly kind of mess. And then once they're all done, you would take a black marker and do your edges, just to finish it off. There's a lot of tedium in this project, a lot of repetition. So while I finish this off, I am going to pause the video so that you're not bored to tears watching me edge all these circles. I'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks. Hello everyone, I'm back. As you can see, I've got all my little envelopes folded, all the bases were edged, and I had continued on with the project and got quite far into it. I had a lot done and I did some editing and I lost everything. So personally I'm farther ahead than I am on the video. So I'm going to show you what I did that I lost. So I've got the base of the paper clip. Now, you can choose which way you want to be up for the head. You can go this way or you could go this way. I do not have any coming up so that it's coming from the bottom of the page. It's usually from one of the sides or from the top. So what I did was I took a feather and I snipped off just little bits. Now, I know snowy owls don't have fuzz off the top of their head. Usually they just have round heads. But when I had originally done it, my husband said, they need some sort of hair. So I did them with hair and some without hair. So I'm going to have this paper clip coming from, let's do the left side. And I found that when I was doing the paper clips and adding the feathers, tacky glue held it down much nicer than just the Elmer's white glue. So I put a dot, a dab of glue right at the very top and gave the little guy some hair. Doesn't matter really how much it sticks up. Then I did a line down from that. And I added probably 1.5 inches of the down feather, and I have the fluff coming the opposite way of the hair going up. And I'm glad I got this over with because I had feather bits everywhere when I did this portion. So I stuck that down, and then I added another bit of glue on top of the quill. And I put a second piece down, just to give it a little bit additional fluff and body. So then, you probably noticed I had a whole bunch of containers with various pieces. What I had was a container holding 1-inch white circles that I had punched out of cardstock. And I showed how I decorated them all. It was very tedious, took an awful lot of time. So what I did was I took all the heads that I had done and I put them onto a piece of paper that will be available for you to print off and download so that it will be easier for you. A 1-inch punch should work perfectly for these, and if you don't have a punch, you can always cut them out with a pair of scissors. So then I took a head and I glued up the entire back. And I put it on top of all the feathers, more towards the top of the base circle. And then I just pressed it down. So then what I had done was I had taken a 2-inch circle and I drew it into 8ths. Also, this will be available for download and printing. And then I cut out each section and I made wings and cut them out. All these pieces are edged with black marker. So for the wings, I had the black edges up. And I just took a marker and I did some squiggly lines or dots, whatever you like. Just give it a little bit of texture look. Put the glue back on that. And for these, I just stuck them on with Elmer's glue because I found that held just fine. It was the feathers that I needed the stiffer glue for. And then you just put it along the edge of the body because it was cut out of a circle. It will have the same outside contour. So there you have your little owl with some wings. Then what I had done was I had printed out and cut out the numbers to go on the advent calendar. I had painted the hollies and then I did numbers on them. Also can be punched out with a 1-inch punch, but I found that that was too big. It's much better if you just cut closer around the green outline. And then I outlined, I did the edging on each number in green marker, and I glued it in the center. So that he looks like this. Whoop, upside down, like that. Now, these owls can be embellished with glitter glue, lace. I was thinking that with the numbers, you could put little things coming out so it looks like a wreath. So I did all 25 of my owls and all 25 of the envelopes, and what I had planned on doing originally was having them hang on a picture frame that looked like a nest. Well, the picture frame that I purchased wasn't big enough. It looked crowded, so I had to, after I had videoed the whole thing and scrapped it and then lost everything after that, I decided to change what I was doing and decided that I would do a junk journal. Oh, throw everything on the floor, with paper bag signatures. So each signature will hold 5 owls. The envelopes will be tucked under each owl so that it has the envelope with the daily thing, and I will show you how I folded it. It uses 5 lunch bags, so you'll have 5 signatures. I did a cover out of, obviously, a Cheerios box. It measures 8 3/4 inches wide. It's 5 1/2 inches high. Each edge, like the front and back cover, is 4 inches from the spine to the edge. It has a 1-inch spine, and then the other 4 inches for the booklet. Okay, so it will hold all 5 quite nicely once they're all sewn in. And it will be more of a chunky journal. Okay, so for the paper bag signatures, I folded it up so that the flappy edge this way. Okay, that would be this part. And then what I did was I folded the top edge this way. But I just folded it just so it just reaches the edge. So I'm going to do it, this will be against the spine, so it will fold out. A little bit of a tuck spot there. Now I need to decorate all the pieces. Also, because this wasn't how I planned it, the owls are in odd orders. So it's going to be like a treasure hunt, finding out which owls go for which day. So what I suggest you do, if you like, is, since this would be the first one they see, that would be number 1. This one could be number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. As I say, unfortunately, I had already done my owls randomly with the paper clips going every which way, so I was stuck with hide and seek. Okay, so I don't have lots of fancy scrapbooking paper. I do have some napkins. I like to paint things personally because I love to paint, and that's how I usually decorate everything. So this is kind of like a learning experience for me. So what I did was I had done a snowman, 6 snowman journals for a craft show that I was going to. And so I had lots of blue printer paper left over. So I cut it into 5-inch pieces, which is obviously too big, but that's okay. I can cut it down. So I'm going to glue various pieces on each part and then trim it down. Before that, I am going to put some glue along the edge to make a tuck spot here on the bag. So this is the bottom of the bag, and there's a bit of a lip. So I'm just going to run some glue along those 2 outside edges, just so that I've got a spot for a tuck spot. And also, since this isn't what I planned, I have no tucks or anything prepared. Then we'll go this way. Then we've got all this loose stuff here. So what I'm going to do on that is I'm going to run a bead of glue all the way down this edge, because I don't necessarily want that to open. And I am going to run glue down the opposite edge also, because I don't want that to open. You can always use it as additional tuck spots if you like. As I say, I don't have anything prepared because I have 2 days to complete the video and I changed my mind on how I was doing it. Okay, so this is going to be a tuck spot. Nice little shallow tuck. It will fold up this way and this way, and I'm going to leave this part open so that I can put something in the sides of this. You can always put a piece of paper that will go across and separate it into 2 if you desire. That would be kind of cute. But then again, as I say, you will need to have things to fill the tuck spots with. Okay. So let's start by covering up this edge. Some glue. Paper, down, and then I will trim it. Along that edge. I'll do the same thing with the other color paper on this inside one. Now you can have these papers ready and decorated with napkins or embellished however you like. As I say again, I am not overly prepared because this isn't what I had planned on doing. And then again, I would trim it. Now, I know a lot of you have the edging ink. Now would be a great time to use your edger distress ink. That also is something I don't have, as I wasn't a paper crafter prior to doing this. So what I normally do is I take a little bit of paint. I'll use blue since this is a blue theme. I will take a piece of sponge, an old piece of sponge, dip it in the paint, and use that to edge my pages. And I probably should have done this one before I stuck it in, but that's okay. I can add some lace or some other sort of edging. So that's how I edge my pages, because without ink. Okay, so I'm going to finish putting pages down, the plain blue pages, on the rest of the sections and all the bags, and I will come back and show you how I'm going to embellish them. Thanks. Okay, I am back. I have covered both sides of the lunch bags with 2 shades of blue of paper. I have left the end open that I can use it for a tuck spot. I have decided what I would like to do is divide the area into 2. So what I did was I cut 5 pieces, because I have 5 groupings, 5 pieces of paper, just white paper, and I cut it 5 inches by 6 inches. Now, what I have found when I folded it in half and went to insert it, it is just a little bit too wide to fit in comfortably to divide it in half. So what I am going to do is I am going to just cut off a very slight amount, just so that it fits in nicely. So it was 5, I'm going to take it down to 5 3/4 inches, and that should fit in the slots very nicely. Yes, I use my quilting items for paper, and yes, I do use my sewing scissors for paper. I'm one of those that if I have to take them and sharpen them, I have to take them and sharpen them, much to my husband's dismay. I also have more than 4 pairs of sewing scissors, so it's a while before I need to do that. I hear you cringing. And for the blades, I mean, I change the blades on my rotary cutter whenever I'm starting a new project for fabric, and I use the old blades for paper. There we go. Then I end up with little strippies, and they can just go in my white paper bin for other projects. Okay, so now I have the 5 folded in half pieces of paper, and I will insert them over the center folds in the bag so that I have 2 separate spots to put things in, and I will fix up the edges when I am done. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to take some white glue and just go down the edges a little bit, nothing too much. Oh, by the way, I did learn something when I was putting this paper on, because you end up with glue lumpies. If you do spread it with an old card of some sort, it sure helps. I'd seen other people do it on watching their videos, and I never really thought about it until I started doing this project. I went, wow, that really works nicely. Go figure. Now this is probably going to be quite awkward to do. It would help if I had the right end. So I'm going to insert okay, there's got to be a trick to this, and I don't know it, but we'll figure it out. Okay. Guess I should have done this before I did all the other work. I'm sure somebody will leave me a comment. I hope somebody leaves me a comment about this. Oh my goodness. Maybe it's not supposed to go on both sides of the page. Nope. That's not working. All right. Then I'm just going to glue it down like this, so it's a little bit firmer. And just glue one side. Fold to the top, insert it so it's equal with the top, and we'll just press it. There we go. That works. So what I will do after, I will do them all, and I will put one on the other side as well. Okay, so then I have the two sides. I will put another piece of paper this way, so I'll have to cut more and then do it so that they hold together nicely. Okay, so I will do that off screen next time I am off screen. Now I'm just going to show you what I've decided, how I have decided to embellish these. I figured that the owls and the envelopes are the primary focus of the journal. So I think I'm just going to stencil lightly with white, just some white paint on these pieces. I had thought maybe I would put some lined paper on. I think they're too small, and I think just a nice light stenciling of some sort of overall pattern will just work fine. So I have a swirly type pattern. I have my sponge. Just going to dip it in the paint and take the feather out. I have feathers everywhere still. And you don't want it too dark. Oh my, feathers, feathers. So if you are allergic to feathers, this will not be the way to decorate your owls. And I am just going to stencil lightly, just to give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of interest. With some white paint. If you want to use a little bit of blue in your white, that's fine. Depends on what kind of what color paper you're using, and I don't want it to be too heavy either. Just a little bit of something. Okay, so I am going to put this powder on all the pages, on all the blues, and I will come back and show you what it looks like. And while I'm doing that, I will also put the other pieces of paper in the ends. I'll be back. Okay, so I have stenciled all the blue, both sides of each of the signatures. And I have put the white printer paper on both sides of the crease in the paper bag. I'm not a big fan of the way this raw edge looks with the two whites and the paper bag between. Could just be me, but I'm going to cover it up. So I always have a stash of trimmings of white that I've trimmed from various projects that I have done. So I have taken 1-inch strips and I have folded them in half so that I would have 1/2 inch on each side. So I took a piece and I measured and I cut it just shy of the inside length or the outside measurement. So then I'm going to take some white glue, and this will work on both sides of the page this time. Just a thin bead of glue. Oh, stuck it. I'm going to run the card down it. And I am going to put it to cover the edge and I think that gives it a much neater look. Except I didn't quite get that all the way down. It still looks better than it did. So then I'm going to take the other little snippets that I have, and I think I'm going to cover this edge too because it's not very sturdy for putting things inside and out. Much easier when you're working on an inside and an outside edge than inside the pocket. And that just gives it a neater look. Oh, ripped it. Brown paper bags aren't as solid as you think they are. I'm going to do that on the other side of the pocket as well. And I am going to do that on all 5 signatures, and I will return. I have learned a trick for doing this now that I am on the final one. Of course, that's when you figure out the easiest way to do things. Is you just put some glue down one side of your folded paper. And you place that, it's too long, no. Okay, we'll cut it. On the inside, up to the fold where you have glued. Press it down. And then you squeeze it so that it's like one of those change purses. You run a bead of glue down the edge and you take that piece of paper and you fold it over onto the glue and you get a much neater edge. Just like that. And then you have a wonderful, neat edge for the inside one. I just had to stop and show you the trick, and I will continue on with this. Okay, so I have finished off all the little pocket edges, but some of these brown paper bags have ripped because the paper is so thin. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing all the way around and give it a much more finished look. And I think I'll also do these outside edges and maybe the inside edges. So I'm going to do that with these 1-inch folded in half pieces of white copy paper, and I will be back. I have finished edging all the signatures. Now I just need to wait for the glue to dry because I don't have a heat gun. Usually I put it under a register. So I'm just going to put it this side and let it dry. Oh, apple wrench. While I work on the cover. So the cover, as I said, measures 5 inches. We'll get the quilting square and I can show you. It's 5.5 inches by 4 inches. The spine is 1.5 inches. And the back or the front again is 5.5 inches by 4 inches. When I do my junk journal covers, I like to reinforce the spine. So I have a piece of cardstock and I am going to lay it inside the spine and glue it down. Being very careful to keep it inside the folds. Okay, and I will cut off this piece, and I will use this piece on the outside of the spine as reinforcement. That's going to give a decently stiff spine. Now I always worry about the creases in the cardboard. So what I do is I take masking tape and I lay it across where the fold is. Bottom, and I do that on both sides. Just reinforces the folds on the cover, gives it some additional support. And I do that on both sides as well. Press it down good, and then trim it even with the cover. And that gives really nice support to the folds. Okay, so now I want to decide what I want to do for the covers. I thought that I would take some cardstock and Mod Podge some napkins to it and use that as the cover. I have 3 bluish napkins, and because it's winter themed and owls, I didn't know if I want to use this one because it kind of looks like feathers overlapping. I didn't know if I wanted to do this one because it's kind of like a galaxy and owls come out at night. Or I also have this one that almost looks like snow. So while I am deciding that and getting the cardstock, I will pause you and return. Okay, so I have decided that I'm going to use this one on the outside, and I'm going to use the one that looks like snow on the inside. So I'm going to remove the backing layers. I use a piece of Scotch tape, except it's not working today. Goodness. To help remove the layers so that I am just Mod Podging with the top. This napkin only has 2 layers, so that one's ready to be Mod Podged on. This one just wants to play nice. There we go. Sorry the video is running so long. What happens when you're unsure of what you're doing. When you're making it up as you go. I do the same thing when I cook. My nephew calls my house, "Oh good, we're eating at the Improv again." Just throw that out. Saved enough. Using the tape really helps for separating the layers. I believe this still has one more layer. Let's get another piece of tape. This one's not working. There we go. Okay, so while I am Mod Podging this, since you've seen it in quite a few videos, I'm sure, And if you haven't, I'll just give a quick explanation. I'm going to cover the white cardstock with Mod Podge, and then I'm going to put it on the napkin, flatten it, and let it dry, and then use that as my covers for my journal. I have 2 pieces of cardstock, 2 napkins, and I will return. Okay, I'm back, and I have covered my cover with the napkins and cardstock, so it's good and sturdy. I have edged everything in the blue paint, and now I'm going to add my signatures. I'm not going to sew them in because they're pretty heavy and it's late at night and I need to get this done. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie the signatures in. Since I've decided that they're going to flip out, I am just going to take my string, put it around the signature, wrap it twice, and then tie it nice and tight against the spine. And I am going to do that with all 5 signatures. Again, I am just tying a knot against the spine and pulling it tight. Don't need that additional string. Come on. Oh, broke that string. That's okay. I can put a little drop of glue on it. Two more to do. Probably thinking, oh, the spine looks really messy. Not a big fan. I'll show you what I do with it once everything is tied. And one more. Taken so long because without a heat gun and waiting for all the glue and paint and everything to dry, I do put things in front of the register for when the furnace comes on. But it still takes a while. Okay, so then what I do is that I try and get all the knots reasonably the same distance, all the strings. Then I take another piece of string, I put it under all the strings on the spine. I think I'll double it. Easier. Then I go up where the knots are, and I do a couple of half hitches. Not sure if you can see this. You have a loop and you just pull it through the loop. Okay, so then I have all these strings. So what I will do after is I will put some beads on the strings for some decoration. I may add another string to hold them down so that it looks more like a tassel, but for now that's the way I'm going to leave it. I did paint a little bit of a cover sign. I will be cutting the words out and placing them on the front, and there I have the book that I'm putting the owls into. So here are the owls. Sideways one, so it can go here. This one comes from the top. You can go here. Well, and I guess I need to put the envelopes in with them. And there we have it, and I will finish that off, and there is my Advent Junk Journal calendar. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope I gave you enough information. As I said, I will put a link below to where I have the owl faces and the numbers. And thank you very much for watching. Please comment and give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks. Bye. Okay, I am going to show you my finished Chunky Monkey journal. A few things. I've added the beads to the strings on the spine. I need to flip that one. I also did a hairband with one of the paperclip owls that I had extra. I stitched it down and then I added glue and let it dry so that I can close the beast. This one will sit open on a counter. It'll just be easier to maneuver. I did the title page. I cut out painted lettering that I did. and then we'll look at just a couple of signatures and I will let you go. So this is signature 1. And this is signature 2. And I hope you've enjoyed, and if you were following along with me, I hope I didn't confuse you too much. If you are going to do this after you have watched, please don't edge your pages when I first mentioned edging it, because I covered them with paper and then had to re-edge everything. And I would also add an additional ½ inch to the spine of the journal, just so it's not as chunky. Please enjoy. It was a blast doing this for you. Have a great one. Bye.